You've come here not merely to listen, but to feel, not just with your ears, but with every trembling string of your inner being. Somewhere deep inside, you carry the echoes of shadows, not your own, the weight of other people's darkness, the hidden pain you've endured silently. Perhaps you've walked through relationships that drained you, that left you questioning your worth, your sanity, your very self. You may have thought survival was enough, that making it through was the end of the story. But survival, as you will discover, is only the threshold. Beyond it lies transformation. Beyond it lies the awakening of a deeper, more powerful self, the self that has faced the abyss, absorbed the poison of another's soul, and emerged not broken, but remade. This journey is not about blame or condemnation. It is about understanding, about witnessing, about reclaiming your power. If you have ever felt too much, cared too deeply, or carried the emotional weight of someone else's shadow, this is for you. Together we will explore what it truly means to survive the darkness of the narcissist, to emerge on the other side with eyes that see clearly, a heart that feels deeply, and a soul that carries the light of wisdom forged in fire. This is your invitation to step into the story of transformation, to face the truth of your endurance, and to begin seeing not only what you have suffered, but what you have become and what you are capable of becoming. The empath is not merely someone who feels too much. In Jungian terms, the empath is a vessel chosen by the unconscious to carry the unacknowledged shadows, projections, and psychic burdens of others. This is particularly evident in interactions with narcissists, who are unable or unwilling to face their own darkness. The empath absorbs what the narcissist cannot acknowledge: guilt, shame, rage, and manipulative energy. This absorption is not accidental, it is archetypal. The empath's sensitivity is not weakness, but a survival strategy. Their very nature is to mirror what others cannot face. They are attuned to subtle cues, unspoken anxieties, and the hidden emotional currents of those around them. This is why empaths often find themselves magnetically drawn into relationships with narcissists. From an archetypal perspective, this is the dance of shadow and light, a projection and absorption. The empath serves as a psychic container, bearing burdens that are not theirs, and in doing so they encounter a trial of immense intensity. This role is both a gift and a challenge. It allows the empath to experience profound insight into human nature, but it also exposes them to extreme suffering. Understanding the empath as a chosen vessel reframes their experience. It is not a mistake to feel deeply or to be affected by others' shadows, but a necessary step in a journey toward transformation. The empath's path is a crucible of the soul, demanding endurance, self-reflection, and eventually the emergence of a new form of being that integrates both sensitivity and strength. In this sense, the empath's suffering is purposeful. It is the medium through which they will discover their own depth, wisdom, and capacity for authentic presence in the world. Empaths often develop their extraordinary sensitivity from an early age. As children, they may live in households marked by instability, tension, or unexpressed emotional pain. They attune themselves to parental moods, household anxieties, and subtle vibrations in the environment as a way to survive emotionally. This hyper-awareness is not simply a trait, but a learned survival strategy. The empath becomes a mirror, absorbing and reflecting emotions that others cannot or will not process. By internalizing these feelings, the child learns to regulate chaos externally, often at the cost of their own developing sense of self. This early conditioning forms the foundation for adult empathy, but it also establishes patterns of vulnerability, particularly to manipulative individuals such as narcissists. The empath unconsciously assumes responsibility for others' emotional states, believing that their value comes from their capacity to soothe, serve, or endure. This dynamic creates a psychic predisposition. The empath becomes a vessel ready to absorb external darkness, which in adulthood may lead to encounters with narcissistic personalities who unconsciously seek such containers. Understanding the roots of empathy in childhood provides insight into both the strengths and vulnerabilities of empaths. Their sensitivity is adaptive, a form of early intelligence attuned to survival, yet it also sets the stage for intense relational challenges. The journey of the empath involves acknowledging this conditioning, differentiating what belongs to them from what was projected onto them, and learning to inhabit their own emotional space without being consumed by the needs or darkness of others. The childhood experience is not a source of shame, but the soil in which resilience, insight, and eventual transformation will grow. It explains why empaths are both deeply perceptive and extraordinarily susceptible to psychic and emotional strain when encountering narcissistic or manipulative individuals. The encounter between the empath and the narcissist is archetypal, almost mythic in its intensity. Narcissists are defined by their inability to integrate their own shadows, often projecting guilt, shame, and rage outward to maintain a fragile sense of superiority. Empaths, sensitive by nature, become the inadvertent containers for this projected darkness. The magnetism is not random. Unconscious archetypal forces draw these personalities together, creating a relationship that tests the empath's boundaries, identity, and emotional resilience. The narcissist requires an external vessel to contain what they cannot own, and the empath, with their finely tuned attunement to emotion, often unwittingly fulfills this role. This interaction is not merely relational, it is transformative, albeit painful. The empath absorbs emotions and projections not their own, leading to confusion, self-doubt, and, at times, a sense of existential dissolution. They may feel poisoned by the narcissist's energy, questioning their sanity and sense of reality. This dynamic acts as a crucible, stripping away illusions and forcing the empath to confront both the narcissist's shadow and their own unconscious tendencies toward self-sacrifice. The interaction exposes hidden truths about power, manipulation, and the human psyche, creating an opportunity for the empath to emerge stronger, wiser, and more discerning. While the experience can feel devastating, it is also a necessary stage in the process of individuation, the awakening of authentic selfhood that integrates both vulnerability and strength. Understanding the archetypal nature of this encounter allows empaths to frame their suffering as purposeful, as part of a deeper spiritual and psychological journey that transforms what was once a source of vulnerability into a wellspring of insight and resilience. Absorbing the narcissist's darkness often precipitates a profound crisis of identity. The empath may feel dissolved, hollowed out, or consumed, as if they are losing their sense of self entirely. This experience can be likened to walking through a hall of mirrors, where the narcissist dictates reality and the empath's perceptions are distorted by projections. Guilt, shame, and rage that are not their own infiltrate the empath's psyche, creating disorientation and psychic toxicity. Yet within this dissolution lies the potential for transformation. Jungian psychology frames such crises as necessary for individuation, the process by which the self awakens and integrates both conscious and unconscious aspects. The empath's breakdown is not simply a tragedy. It is a shamanic descent into the underworld, a symbolic death that precedes rebirth. By enduring the dissolution of identity, the empath confronts both the narcissist's shadow and their own unconscious patterns, including tendencies toward overgiving or self-erasure. This phase, while painful, is essential for awakening. The empath is confronted with the choice: remain a vessel of external projections, or engage in the alchemical process of self-transformation, turning poison into wisdom. Crisis and dissolution, though terrifying, are the crucibles in which the empath is forged. From the ashes of confusion and suffering, a new identity emerges, stronger, wiser, and more fully aligned with the archetype of the wounded healer, capable of discerning truth, setting boundaries, and engaging with the world from a place of conscious empowerment rather than unconscious absorption. Surviving narcissistic abuse is not merely about enduring hardship. It is a symbolic death and rebirth, an alchemical process that transforms the empath's inner life, the emotional and psychic. Poison absorbed, the guilt, shame, and rage projected by the narcissist is transmuted into wisdom, discernment, and psychic strength. In this crucible, the old self dies, the part of the empath that equated love with sacrifice, empathy with annihilation, and sensitivity with vulnerability. Out of this death arises a reborn identity, tempered by suffering but luminous in insight. This transformation mirrors alchemical metaphors: the lead of suffering, the mercury of confusion, and the sulfur of rage fuse in the empath's psyche, eventually producing gold. The empath emerges with a heightened awareness of human nature, an ability to recognize deception and manipulation, and a fortified sense of self. This rebirth is not superficial. It reaches the archetypal core of the psyche, creating a deeper alignment with one's authentic self. The empath becomes more than sensitive. They become a conscious actor in their life, capable of choosing boundaries, asserting truth, and engaging with the world without being consumed. The death of the old self is painful, yet necessary for individuation, the emergence of a self that integrates light and shadow, vulnerability and strength, tenderness and discernment. The empath's survival is thus both literal and symbolic. It signifies the passage through extreme trial and the awakening of an archetypal potential that could not exist without encountering profound darkness. Having survived, the empath embodies the archetype of the wounded healer. This figure, present across cultures and psychological frameworks, transforms personal suffering into the capacity to aid others without being exploited. Unlike before, the empath no longer sacrifices themselves naively. They carry insight, discernment, and psychic boundaries, enabling them to assist, comfort and guide without losing their integrity. Their compassion is informed by experience, tempered by survival, and enriched with wisdom. They no longer confuse love with self-erasure or empathy with enabling manipulation. This archetype represents both paradox and integration. The empath is tender yet strong, luminous yet scarred, capable of perceiving the shadows in others while remaining grounded in their own truth. They do not seek out narcissists to save them, but radiate authenticity that inspires others and illuminates hidden dynamics. The wounded healer does not impose transformation, but embodies it, becoming a living mirror for others' growth. The empath's scars are not signs of weakness, but markers of depth, resilience, and alchemical change. Through enduring suffering, they acquire a profound capacity for presence, discernment, and guidance, allowing them to navigate relationships and life with clarity, integrity, and an awakened sense of purpose. Healing and transformation require the empath to confront not only external shadows, the narcissist's projections, but also internal ones. These internal shadows include unconscious tendencies toward excessive self-sacrifice, desire to be indispensable, and compulsion to rescue others at their own expense. By acknowledging these patterns, the empath can prevent repeating cycles of abuse and exploitation. Integration involves conscious reflection, acceptance, and the choice to act from awareness rather than compulsion. It is a deliberate process of bringing unconscious motives into light, transforming them from liabilities into sources of insight. This process ensures that survival is not merely reactive or defensive, but proactive and generative. Integration allows the empath to reclaim ownership of their emotional and psychic space, fostering autonomy, discernment, and authentic expression. By facing both internal and external shadows, the empath completes the cycle of transformation, moving from passive receptivity to active authorship of their own life. This stage is critical for individuation. It allows the empath to navigate future relationships with clarity, resilience, and the capacity to love without losing themselves. Shadow integration is both a safeguard and a gateway. It prevents relapse into old patterns, while opening the path to genuine freedom and authentic selfhood. The empath's survival of narcissistic abuse is framed as heroic endurance. Unlike conventional hero myths that emphasize conquest, this heroism centers on enduring and transforming suffering. The empath confronts challenges both external, the manipulations of the narcissist, and internal, their own vulnerabilities and unconscious tendencies. By enduring, they acquire insight, resilience, and knowledge of human nature that cannot be gained through comfort or avoidance. This endurance carries a paradoxical gift. The empath becomes a vessel of wisdom and light, not for self-aggrandizement, but as a living testament to the transformative potential of suffering. Heroic endurance is not about surviving unscathed, but about navigating extreme trial to emerge stronger, wiser, and aligned with one's authentic self. The empath's journey mirrors the hero's return from the underworld. They carry knowledge and illumination, offering guidance, insight, and inspiration to others. Heroism in this context is subtle yet profound. It resides in patience, self-awareness, and the capacity to transform poison into wisdom, despair into resilience, and manipulation into discernment. The empath becomes both a symbol and an agent of transformation, demonstrating that survival itself is a prelude to the higher purpose of becoming. Survival is only the beginning. The empath's true evolution lies in becoming. Survival ensures that the empath has withstood the narcissist's projections without being destroyed, but becoming transforms this endurance into conscious agency. Becoming involves small acts of authenticity, saying no where once one said yes, noticing manipulation and refusing to participate, asserting boundaries without guilt. These acts, repeated over time, weave a tapestry of transformation, reinforcing the empath's autonomy and self-possession. Through this process, the empath no longer equates love with self-erasure, empathy with surrender, or compassion with martyrdom. They cultivate discernment, resilience, and a light that is tempered by experience. Becoming requires vigilance, courage, and self-reflection, but it yields freedom, wholeness, and agency. The empath moves from being a passive recipient of external projections to an active participant in their own life. Becoming allows them to inhabit their own identity fully, integrating light and shadow, vulnerability and strength, compassion and discernment. This stage completes the alchemical process initiated by survival. The empath transforms pain into insight, weakness into strength, and sensitivity into wisdom. After surviving and integrating the experience, the empath radiates a tempered, discerning light. Unlike the naive, unguarded sensitivity of their pre-survival self, this light is sharp, resilient, and unassailable. It illuminates deception, manipulation, and illusion without being extinguished by them. Others perceive this presence as both comforting and challenging. Comforting because the empath understands suffering without judgment. Challenging because their awareness exposes illusions and falsehoods. This tempered light represents the culmination of alchemical transformation. The empath has absorbed darkness, endured its corrosive effects, integrated shadows, and emerged whole. They love deeply, but without self-sacrifice, feel intensely, but without being consumed, and act with empathy, but with discernment. The light is a sign of individuation, a manifestation of inner wholeness forged in fire, trial, and reflection. The empath's radiance serves as both a mirror and a guide, inspiring growth and insight in others while maintaining the integrity of their own psyche. It represents the final stage of the journey. Survival becomes wisdom. Sensitivity becomes strength, and the empath becomes a conscious, illuminated being who walks in the world fully awake. As we reach the end of this journey, take a moment to feel the weight you have carried, and then feel the strength that now flows through you. You are no longer merely an empath who absorbs the shadows of others. You are a survivor, a witness, a bearer of light forged in darkness. You have faced manipulation, endured suffering, and emerged remade. But your story does not end here. Every insight you've gained, every scar you bear, is a guidepost not only for yourself, but for those still lost in the shadows. Your presence, your awareness, your tempered compassion, they speak louder than words ever could. You have become both balm and mirror, comfort and challenge, a living testament to the alchemy of survival. Remember, survival is only the beginning. Becoming is the gift, the ongoing work, the sacred unfolding of your soul. Each moment you choose authenticity over illusion, clarity, over confusion, love without self-erasure, you are stepping further into your power. You are shaping your light so that it cannot be consumed, only reflected, shared, and multiplied. So take this knowledge, this clarity, and walk forward. Carry it gently, fiercely, and unapologetically. You have seen the abyss and returned, and in doing so, you now know the depth of your strength. Share it, embody it, let it guide your every choice. For those of you listening, know this: you are not alone. Your pain, your endurance, your transformation, these connect you to a greater story, a story of awakening, courage, and the unstoppable power of the human soul. And as you step forward into the next chapter of your life, ask yourself, how will I shine today? How will I honor the darkness I've survived by allowing my light to rise even brighter?